Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing the CJRB Sasaya. I gotta say, this one right here checks all the boxes for me, so stay tuned if you want to know why. So this is a much bigger knife than I expected it to be, coming in at 8.24 inches overall. It has a 3.51 inch drop point blade, or you could call it a Shilin Cutter blade or leaf shaped blade. And it's in their proprietary RPM 9 steel, which at the price point, it's a fantastic option. Your blade finish is a nice raw stone wash finish. I always love seeing a nice raw stone wash. Hides wear so well. It's my preferred blade finish. You have jimping up here. I'm gonna say it's aesthetics only because it doesn't offer much traction. Not something I really care about, but I know some people do. You have a perfectly executed sharpening choil. That plunge comes down right there. You're gonna have a lot of sharpening before you have to do anything with that, or if you want to do anything with that. This blade shape, after testing many of the Volstige nightshades and Shilin Cutter that they have, this blade shape is one of the most versatile blade shapes for several reasons. You got the low tip that sits in line with the center of these scales, so it's very easy to use that tip for fine detailed cuts. When you're going to pierce, it's already going toward whatever you're piercing into. You got a pretty acute tip there, so it's gonna be great at those detailed cuts and piercing. Plus, if you look, this belly right here is sitting below the scales. So whenever you cut on a flat cutting surface, you're going to be able to get from here onto the flat cutting surface before you come in contact with the back of the scale right here. And the way the belly comes down and up like that, it kind of acts as like a recurve, because whenever you're cutting into material, that belly gets deeper and deeper into what you're cutting to about right there, and then it starts to slide down. So it's an aggressive cutter. And this one has the recipe to be a super slicer because you have nice thin blade stock at 0.096. You have this full flat grind that comes down to around 16 thousandths behind the edge. I can't wait to see how this one performs. Once again, CJRB has sent me out a ridiculously sharp knife, and man, I wish y'all could feel this. This thing is slicing like I'm slicing through air. I mean, there's absolutely no resistance. You got that thin blade stock, a full flat grind that's ground thin. Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you what, I definitely am gonna have to hit them up, see if I can get a hold of the premium version of this. Because, yeah, I think that one's an S90V. I already love this one. I know I'm going to love that one. Now testing the ergos, and it's comfortable. You know, I'm able to get a good bit of force. That edge is very crisp, so I'm peeling this like an apple. And the only thing I did notice is being that you got a flare in the back, that's nice, but the way it gets really skinny up there by the pivot area, and the scales aren't super thick. Over prolonged periods of time, you're going to start to fatigue your wrist and forearms on this one. Everything was nice and comfortable. No hot spots that I noticed, but that's just something to be aware of. And this is where I am kind of mind boggled on how incredibly easy it is going through this 1/2 inch rope. You see, it's just popping it. It's basically, yeah, there you go. It is basically exploding that 1/2 inch rope as soon as I touch it almost. That's how good the edge is, and the geometry is making it pass through it so much easier. You know, if you've ever did cutting side by side between a knife with thin blade stock with good geometry, you should know what I'm talking about here. It's going to pass through the material a lot easier, especially if your edge bevel isn't super thick, because you can have super thin blade stock and thin geometry of the primary, but if your edge bevel's at like 30 thousandths, it's not going to be as slicey as this knife is. I don't even know what the edge bevel is, but if I had to take a guess, I would think it's about 20 degrees per side maybe. But yeah, so far I am just mind boggled, and I already knew it was going to perform good. It's not as versatile as the Volstige Nightshade, because that one, the tip sits even lower than this one. But as you saw there, you can still do the drag cuts with the tip. And nothing I put in front of this one gave it any trouble. This one was an absolute joy to test. I give it a AAA plus for performance. And that is a common theme with CJRB in my experience. Just as I expected, this thing performed outstanding, people. Outstanding. Super slicer. So, let's talk about the deployment in action, because if you like fidgety knives, this one's a fidget monster. Because of that blade hole, I can easily reverse flick it, thumb flick it, slow roll it, spidey drop it, and you can also depress that button lock to deploy it. It's a very, very fidgety knife. It's very easy to deploy and release that lock really, really easy in one motion. Riding on cage strength bearings, giving it that fall shut action. Now let's talk about the ergos real quick. I thought they were fantastic. It is kind of thin up here, so when you're choked up, if you're doing a lot of hard cutting, it may start to fatigue you quick. It didn't really fatigue me with the amount of stuff I did, but you know, if I did a little bit more, I could start feeling that I was squeezing really hard to keep it from spinning. Only thing I was saving it is that it's flaring right here. But whenever I see these skinny portions in the handle, I always get kind of concerned because, you know, it's a little harder to grip. You'd rather it be a little wider up here instead of having it really thin in one side or the other. But there's no sharp areas. They did a great job with the chamfers going all the way around. No sharp areas where you don't want them to be. They are just flat scales, but I thought they were perfectly fine. There's other options if you don't like the wood covers that are on this one. No matter which grip I hold this in, it's probably even more comfortable in this reverse grip right here. And then in this grip, it's okay. This is rounded, but it is coming to like a point there. I'll never do this with this one anyway, but you know, it's there if you need it. The wood scales on this, they are a little slick, but if that's something you're worried about, they have G10 variants as well. You have stainless steel bolsters over a stainless steel frame. Flow through construction, so if you want to blow it out with compressed air or get a Q-tip in there to wipe out some gunk, you can. 2 hourglass standoffs in the back. You have a tip up, somewhat deep carry clip. They couldn't go all the way to the end because they decided to put a lanyard hole. I would have loved to not see that there and make this down the center like that. But it is somewhat deep carry. They didn't inset it into the wood, but it is rounded over there in the front. I had no issues with it getting hung up. Enough ramp to get through all my jeans fine, and it is reversible. So at least they thought about the lefties on this one. Like I said, this one is a button lock. It does have a recessed area, so you don't accidentally disengage it. You do have to go below that recessed spot before it'll release that blade, as you see there. And the lockup, this thing's solid. No movement up or down, left to right. Let's do a couple light spine whacks. Super solid. Love that. There is no internal milling on this, but the wood is going to shave off some weight. And I think it's a very manageable weight for its size at 3.86 ounces. Did not feel cumbersome in the least in the pocket. Now time for some quick size comparisons. It's just a little shorter than the Ontario Rat 1 and a good bit bigger than the Rat 2. And it's a little smaller than the CJRB Large Pyrite. And it's a good bit larger than the Volseed Nightshade. And lastly, it's just a hair shorter than the Civivi Praxis, and it's just a hair longer than the CJRB Krog. Now, being that absolutely no knife perfect, what are my nitpicks and complaints? If you're going to put jimping, I think it would have been nice to have it actually functional there. Not something that bothers me any, but I know it's going to bother some people. I'm glad they went with all T8 hardware here. They could have inset this clip into the frame. I wish they wouldn't have put this lanyard hole there and kind of centered up the pocket clip a little more. And these wood scales are a little slick. However, that's really not a big deal being that there's G10 options as well. So what are my final thoughts on the CJRB Sasaya? I absolutely love it. If you like a fidgety knife with great action, outstanding slicer that's going to be very versatile, then you're going to love this one. Just absolute slicing machine, beautiful action, and it's a much bigger knife than I expected it to be. It's kind of like getting a Volseed XL Nightshade. Now, of course, the Sasaya doesn't have as aggressive of an arc as the Nightshade, as you saw when I did the size comparison. But it's definitely kind of going for that Shilin Cutter blade, leaf-shaped blade, whatever you want to call it. I just look at it as a versatile blade. The wood version comes in at $62. Do I think it's worth it? Absolutely. I was even more happy whenever I saw how thin the blade stock is on top of this full flat grind. So if you own a Volseed Nightshade and you think that one performs well, this one slices even better. So if you're interested in picking up one of these and you want to help support the channel, you can use my links that are down below in the description. If so, I can't thank you enough. That helps me pay for my testing materials. If not, no sweat at all. So that's going to wrap up today's video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those down below and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having a fantastic day today. And remember, keep these blades sharp. Smile more.